Welcome back. I'm Gareth, and I'm joined as usual with my good co-host Freddie, and we're
thank
still
you.
talking about Neon Genesis Evangelion. Now, I said to Mr. Freddie that we were going to do an interesting topic because, as well as the symbolism that we talked about and character development, there's a couple of unexplained mysteries in the realms of Evangelion. One of them that has constantly been a thorn in my side, and I've not necessarily picked Freddie's brain with, but put to him on occasion to occasion, is the following mystery: who shot Ryoji Kaji? So, for those who were just joining or never watched Evangelion, Ryo Kaji was a triple agent. Did you know that, Freddie?
I knew he was at least a double agent.
So he worked for NERV, SEELE, and the Japanese government.
Oh, okay. No, I must have missed one of them. I definitely picked up double agent. I mean, it feels like the whole point, like when you're doing like double, triple bluffing, it kind of goes like how far until you just kind of loop back to just it being just a bluff.
Yeah.
It's just like how far does it go until you're just like, I'm just working.
He's a deep character, and 50% of that deep is the undercover work. So, in episode 21, Kaji is shot in what appears to be an execution-style assassination. However, in the TV show, the killer is left ambiguous and has fueled much speculation. In later interviews, though, I will stipulate that Hideaki Anno has said that it was just some nameless grunt, like one of the... Do you remember the two security agents that kidnapped?
Funny enough, I believe that, yeah, they're in the episode prior, or in the same episode previously, and I think see them as smidge in the previous episode. I might be wrong there, but yeah, you have seen them before.
But what if the killer was someone else, Freddie? What if...
It's very much alluded to that it is somebody he knows, which kind
especially for what he says. Imagine it took you too long, or what took you so long, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, is it someone who has ruthlessly followed him, hunted him down? Is it someone who has known who he is, one of his employers? Or is it someone else that he may be trusted, that may have been deep within his personal life? I'm going to posit some suspects for you, Mr. Freddie, and I would like you to tell me how believable they are. Are you ready?
I am as prepared as I can be. Might not be a lot, but it's all you're getting.
Suspect number 1. Misato Kusaragi. Now,
that was my initial thought. It's the most logical conclusion.
So, Misato, being sick of being messed around and in the emotional turmoil of doing her job and also being Kaji's lover, decides that despite she knows it's going to cause her some pain, it will help her in her life and employ to get rid of him. What are your thoughts?
I disagree with that logic, but...
Okay.
Okay, I got the feeling that it would have been a case of that she would have probably been told by Gendo or someone else at NERV that she has to go here and kill him, and she's not left much of a choice. It's either a case of, sure, you can run away with Kaji and you'll be leaving Shinji and everything and you'll be hunted down and da-da-da-da-da, or you can go and kill him. You've had sort of this on and off relationship with him, and I feel like, yeah, given it feels like a weird sense, in like a weird way, that she would have been the person or should have been the person who killed him, even if I don't know, maybe it wouldn't have fit afterwards, but yeah.
See, that is the kicker narratively, is because she sits and listens to his phone message repeatedly. She really goes into the depths of despair. But given the nature of Evangelion, there is still that like posited feeling that some of the characters are a little bit more complex than we think they're going to be, or how we know. I think, I know it seems like we've gone early doors on Misato as this. I think in the grand scheme of things and the positioning of the narrative, she's a very obvious candidate, and also his line before being shot makes more sense.
Yeah,
with
the line
her.
makes it feel like, yeah, it's somebody personal to him, somebody he knew, somebody he was expecting to be told. And the initial thing that sort of makes it somebody very much cements the idea in my mind that it should have been somebody he knew is, why didn't he just shoot? He knew they're coming.
Yeah.
Why didn't he just protect himself by, shooting first or whatever?
But then if it was Misato, he'd maybe let her shoot first.
Yeah, he'd just be like, no, I'm not going to do
Yeah.
this. I wouldn't want to kill you. Yeah, it's that whole thing. It's like, if it's just a nobody, at that point it's like, oh, it's you or me. But he's just like, oh, whatever. Go on.
I think the combination of the line and the delivery really,
Mm.
in the fan basis, makes Misato a very obvious choice. So
Yeah, and yeah, it's. I wouldn't say necessarily that it's the tone of the anime, but it would definitely, it would fit. It would fit because that's the kind of thing Gendo would do. Would put you between a rock and a hard place and be like, pick.
before we move on to suspect number 2, if Misato, crazy fan theory here from me, if Misato offed Ryoji Kaji, could she become an Evangelion pilot by having Ryoji as the spirit of the Eva?
Okay, not given I'm not an encyclopedia of the knowledge, but aren't the spirits inside the Evas all women? Maybe with Karu being the exception there. Karu's a bit of a
So
strange
far, yes. But
yeah.
Currently, the situation seems to be it has to be someone that cares or nurtures for the pilot, would be what seems to be the predetermination. Hence why it's both mums.
Although I suppose you could argue that, yeah, Kaji would be a nurturing person given he's got his little plant garden that he nurtures.
Big Melons fan.
Yeah. It then sort of would. I don't know whether tricky one. It then becomes a case of, would you go with the gender stereotype of that it's always mothers and women who are nurturing parents? And given the time when the anime was released, I don't know. Or they could turn it on their head and say, sure, go for it.
Do you go for the alternate stereotype of mummy's boy, daddy's girl?
I won't dignify that with an answer.
Different kind of daddy, different kind of daddy.
Yeah. I was like, but are you talking about Miss Misato and Kaji? They're not on a parental-child basis.
That's true, but
Yeah. So I can't take it on the parental idea. It's like, well,
maybe. So on that notion, should we, out of 10 being absolute certainty, 1 being absolutely no chance, Misato Kusaragi, Ryoji Assassin.
I mean, again, it's doable. It would fit. But you okay?
Yeah. I'm just waiting for a score out of 10.
Likelihood is, I would say, well, it's what my brain initially jumped to. So, 9.
9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Okay. So, suspect number 2. Also in a similar role to Misato, I'm going to present you with Retsuko, the science officer who has been seen frequently in Evangelion with being on dates or social events with Ryoji, and also seemingly at points to almost be a co-conspirator at keeping Misato away from the Evangelion project. Has the ending of Evangelion, where Retsuko has realised that she has been nothing but a tool to others, in her anger, fury, and self-realisation, has she removed from her friend, her long-term friend Misato, her lover, and potentially a co-conspirator that could cause her problems down the line?
I don't. I mean, I see it. I see it as it would fit all the pieces that we're given. I don't think Kaji would rush to shoot her, given that they've been sort of I wouldn't say childhood friends, but they've been friends for a long time, like since before they were adults. They've got a lot of history together, and it would be somebody who is personal enough that he could deliver the line that he does.
Yeah.
It does feel like, pardon me, Retsuko also would be of a, like, so Misato being a military woman would, very capable of using firearms, very adept with them. Retsuko being more of a civilian role scientist, but in a military organization, probably would have experience with them. So could fit, but I don't know how many.
I would imagine an agency like NERV, especially like any department. I believe if you join the army in the United Kingdom, even if you join as a cook or a chef, you have to go through all the relevant gun handling and training. So I'd imagine being a higher organisation than that. Even we see Hugo Makoto handling weaponry, or those characters on the station that are drawn with holsters. So I think Retsuko, she was, when I was thinking about it, the Misato was the obvious choice. I think Retsuko was my second choice, but I think for some people she might be like the dark horse pick, like the outsider on the race. Because despite you commented in one of the episodes that she was like unaffected by other people, and that she was like her own person and threw herself into her work, I think that Retsuko wanted to have a connection, and I get the suspicion maybe it's just me reading into things. This is the joys of watching and reading and literature and media. I think she at least had an intimate relationship at some point with Kaji, whether or not it was romantic. But I think, like, because she also was with Gendo.
This is where I think it becomes a case of that it's like different societal norms in different countries, because it's written in Japan having different societal norms to the West in general. The idea is a bit too long to go into for this video, but I've been through it with Gareth outside of videos. I feel like it's possible. Again, but then I'm somebody who's grown up with different societal impressions. So, yeah. Hey ho. Worldwide views.
So, this one seems a little bit quicker than Misato. So, if I asked you for your scale of 10, how likely? So, Misato, you said was a 9. So, I imagine she's going to be less than a 9.
Yeah, I'd say like a 7. She wasn't my immediate first jump to conclusion. She fits all the parts, but for some reason I feel like her being the killer would be a slightly different tone to, or it wouldn't have as much punch as if Misato was.
Yeah. I can agree with that conceptually.
It's a strange one, because I think in terms of if she were to be asked by Gendo, she'd be just as likely, possibly more so than Misato, given that it is a show with an atmosphere, like, that kind of indescribable, intangible feeling.
Yeah.
I don't think she'd fit that.
Okay.
It would be a bit of a departure, which may or may not be like a tonal shift, which may be desired, but hey ho, it's not. I think for both of us, she wasn't our first conclusion, which is why I'm saying 7.
I generally agree with you. I'd maybe make her an 8, because I'd think, as a viewer, Misato would be the obvious pick, but as an author, potentially, if I was to make or write the show, I think she would be an interesting pick and would allow you other avenues, and it would allow you to explore further Retsuko situations and characterization, which I think, given she has her own little fan base, I think that would be interesting.
Are they all cats?
They are potentially surrounded by cats. So, currently, Misato, 9 out of 10. Retsuko, 7 out of 10.
Hmm.
I'm going to present to you
A
suspect
wild
number
card?
3. Suspect number 3, I'm going to give you Shinji Ikari as the option. Now, Shinji perhaps sees Mr. Kaji as a mentor and someone he respects, but potentially given his realizations of the world and how Mr. Kaji makes a comment on, like, you've got a choice to do something, perhaps he has decided that, you know, as painful as loss is from the experience with his mother, maybe he could be an acceptable loss in his further development and growth. Or is he just in the way of Misato? And Shinji just wants a better mum relationship with Misato.
No. Disagree thoroughly. No, he's too attached to the characters that there are. Yeah, I don't see it.
Do you think he could do it though? Do you think he could?
So,
not that he would, but do you think he could?
this was before the episode where he kills Kawaru, isn't it?
Yes.
I reckon at this point in his development, he wouldn't be able to.
Do you think after Kararu he could?
With Kaji as he is, no. If it was like, oh, like Kaji's actually, you know, in a very similar situation to Kawaru in that he's an angel, he's going to, like, his existence is going to destroy the world. Yes.
If you think about it, like, Kaji's kind of destroying the world in his own way, I suppose. Being a triple agent who's kind of, would you say how, because he's got to balance the books in that some way, hasn't there? There has to be one linking purpose as to why he's like, I do all 3 of these, like, as some kind of guardian angel to Tokyo 3. Is Ryoji Kaji secretly Batman?
Just Batman who got shot.
I mean, Batman's been shot a few times. He just wears better armor.
Yeah. I don't. I don't think Shinji is capable of it. There's a few characters who I think he looks up to too much that I think no matter what, he wouldn't be able to kill.
Yeah.
Obviously, right at the top of there is Misato. I think given he's already experienced loss of, he has experienced loss of his mother figure prior, but very young. But then at the same time, so it might be a case if he doesn't quite remember the feeling, but at the same time, I feel like he'd have so much pressure of the fear of losing it again, that even though it's not like, hey, I remember this feeling, I want to avoid it, it's like the fear of having that feeling would far outweigh anything. I feel like Kaji, well, it's not that exact feeling, he wouldn't want to because he looks up to him too much. Right. He's too much of a sort of improvised father figure of a kind that he wouldn't want to. It's like if he killed him, there'd be too much that he's doing. It's like the whole thing of, like, he's too personal to him. Because even though, Kawaru was like Shinji's greatest friend in a sense, he hadn't known him for all that long.
So, score out of 10 for Mr. Shinji Ikari as having done it.
I would like to say possibly 1, but I will say 2.
2. So
2,
I was waiting for a resounding flat 0, like never. Shinji could never have done it.
As I said, it's like he was later on in his development, possibly. But as he was right there, very, very difficult. It would basically require manipulating Shinji to a point where he is completely unhinged, which would have been doable, but it would have had to be a very long game that hadn't been played.
Berserk mode Shinji had to be unlocked, did it?
Yeah,
Did he then stoop over the corpse of Kaji and eat his guts? See if he could release the S2 drive within him?
Maybe.
Right. Let's lead on to suspect number 4. Suspect number 4, sticking with the Akaris, would be Gendo Akari. Gendo Akari obviously was aware of who the saboteur was. He let him get around so much as well, supposedly given the narrative of the show. But had Kaji finally crossed the line where he was getting too much in Gendo's way and was going to ruin his plans for reuniting with Yui or the Human Instrumentality Project?
I just feel like, given how Gendo is portrayed in the show, it's not that case. It's more a case of that Gendo's known the whole time. He's just been like, you doing this actually helps me, because it's that whole thing of it's, I know you're like a double, triple agent or whatnot, and by letting you stay, the other people who you're working for feel like they have an iota of control. They feel like they've got like a secret.
Yeah.
But it's not a secret, and any moment I so desire, I can just be rid of you.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me. And it feels, given how very detached Gendo feels throughout the show, very doable.
So, if Gendo killed Kaji, would you describe the situation as being genned down?
Ha ha.
Was that an inopportune time to take a drink there, Freddie?
Yeah. Thankfully, I'm not somebody who...
I think Gendo could be there. I know the line delivery would be weird. But...
yeah, it sort of fit. A bit of a push, but it would work.
Given some of the stuff that we're showing, maybe Ryoji and Gendo were the fourth relationship that Gendo was running. Crossing the streams behind the Evas.
We'll just go like ancient Greek. Everyone's had a bit of everyone else. Go for it. So,
bit of post-Roman meal time.
You've got to burn your carbs somehow.
Yeah.
So
sausage as dessert.
The only issue I have with Gendo being the assassin murderer is that Gendo is somebody who usually doesn't get his hands dirty.
Yeah. He's
usually behind a desk with his hands steepled in a very dark room. So it feels like he's somebody who would give the order, and it would probably be to somebody, again, like Misato, like Retsuko, somebody who's like, you know what? You're friends with somebody who's been a double, triple H. Maybe. He'd give the order, but I don't think Shinji would be able to do it.
What are you on about? Shinji does everything his dad asks him. That's what the whole show's about.
He left NERV twice. Yeah, he left NERV twice and got back in. But yeah, it would feel like it would be a case of that he'd tell somebody who's like, I want you to do this because I want to make sure that you're loyal to me. Which is why I would expect Misato, Retsuko. Doing it himself feels doable, provided he's wanting to keep it very secret that Kaji's dead. Yeah. If he doesn't want anyone else to know, I could very much see him doing it. But I think he wants people to know that Kaji's dead.
I know this might sound like, before we move on to my last suspect, I could see Gendo doing it as an up you to SEELE. Like, he's aware that they're watching him and stuff, and I could imagine Gendo being the kind of person, I know he's very ambiguous throughout the show, and a lot of times like people challenge him and he's been very hands off, but I bet you every so often he's the kind of person it's like, I want you to know that it's me that did it. But the Games of Thrones moment, I know you've not watched it.
I've not. I never cared for it. That's kind of what I was leaning on before, with the idea that it's very much that he's if he'd known the whole time, he's like, I'm letting you feel like you have control, and then they're like, oh, we're getting somewhere, and he's just going to be like, no, I'm going to put my foot down and let you know you have vastly underestimated me. You will not do this because I will mess you up.
I will this into being.
Yeah, that would fit, but then things like the line that he says. Again, it's why it fits, but it's a bit of a stretch. Yeah.
Score out of 10 for Gendo then.
7.
7.
Yeah, a bit similar thing to Retsuko in that I see her being more capable than a 7 of doing it, but it feels like it would require a little change in several things to be correct. Or
there'd be some revisionism.
Yeah.
I could imagine Gendo, for capability of doing it, is a 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
absolute dead cert. Actually doing it within the framework of the narrative and what we're presented with. 6 or 7 for me. I think it'd be a little bit less likely. I agree with a lot of the points that you made. I also think, actually, maybe between 6 and an 8 for me. It depends on which day it is, whether it was not like, whether the canteen was serving it like the meals he doesn't like. It steps up to an 8. But
Gendo eats? I thought you'd just sit there and brood.
What do you mean it's just kimchi noodle again? We had the same yesterday. I could see it slightly more likely than Retsuko, but narratively less likely than Misato.
Well, yeah, it's a whole thing of like, if you were to say, are they all capable of it? Yes, they're all capable of it, but then, because it's like, oh yeah, they can all hold a gun and pull the trigger. They're all 10 out of 10 capable of doing that, and if it just happens to be pointed at Kaji, oops. But yeah, whether they'd want to or not, that's what's pulling it back. Which is why I've rated everyone as I have.
So,
which then weirdly makes Misato like the counter choice, because she'd probably be somebody who doesn't want to, but
it's like a weird sort of roulette wheel of characters for this topic, isn't it? Like I think if people have made it this far and you've got your own opinions in the comments, I could imagine lots of people having loads of interesting, weird ideas. I'm going to present to you one more before we start to go on. So, suspect number 5, Hyuga Makoto. Famously known for his spiky dark hair and glasses and being very capable behind a control console at the NERV headquarters, Hyuga offs Kaji as part of A professional reason, and B, also becoming a character that's increasingly interested in Misato as the narrative goes along. What do you think of the potentials of our short, spiky protagonist doing it?
At that point, oh god, that's such a wild card, in that he's like such a background character at that point that it's like, why? But then, so he becomes more important later.
Yeah.
So, sort of viewing it retroactively because of that, it's like, if he had done it, that would be like the first step to him actually becoming a more major character, which could work. The line then doesn't make any sense, but I mean, I suppose Kaji would know him to some degree, but not.
They have
like
communicated in the show.
Not as like anything more than, hey, you work here, I work here, cool, hi, see ya. So having that, I feel like Kaji would have like shot back. I feel like he's impersonal enough that he'd be like, no, I'm going to defend myself against this.
I think, we make this comment about shooting back. In the scene, Kaji's kind of just walking down a corridor, so he'd have to draw... If the other person's turned up armed and ready, Kaji's...
corridor? Was he waiting? I thought he was waiting.
Is he waiting? But he's not unholstered gun on action.
Well, this is the thing. Again, this might be my mind just playing funny tricks on me. I thought he was like, in this real like sort of dingy... I wouldn't say an alleyway, because it felt quite like the walkway was narrow, but it felt like there was like
it made me think of like a prison building or like the inside of a
it's like on a walkway. Yeah. So I thought he was just like, leaning against the wall, just waiting for someone. It's like, oh, cool, you've turned up finally. I didn't think he was, just walking, and then it's like, oh, somebody's behind me.
Yeah.
Because funnily enough, if you're walking, they've got to be walking faster than you. So I don't recall him walking particularly slowly. So
yeah, I think he just
power
rescued. Is it
walking.
Fuzikage, the second in command? So
Oh,
he's
yeah,
probably
yeah.
still in wherever the holding area is, some kind of prison-esque location.
Hmm.
So I think, as a dark horse, the reason I picked Hyuga is, if that was the case, the things that you just listed would make him it would be like, oh my god, like, his first thing was to do this, and this is how we're introduced to him. And then, like, realistically, like, in the series, we're kind of showing Hyuga to be a little bit of a simp towards the end, or is that just maybe me being a bit hard on him? Because he's like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
I'll do anything for you, Misato, even blow
Yeah.
myself up.
Yeah, I got that feeling, yeah. Yeah, it's that. He's such a strange one. It's like if you're introducing a new character or a character who's had no real introduction before that point in background, so he's there. But if you're introducing him as a more fleshed out character who's sort of bumping up, going from background to maybe secondary character, you have no motivation. You've got no, as in like you've got no.
You don't have active motivation. Retroactively,
Yeah.
you could, like, insert the reasoning for that, or because, like, he seems pretty, like, job loyal.
Yeah, this
like,
is the thing. It's like we know him for doing his job.
Yeah, I'm not calling him a jobber. I'm just saying he's loyal to his tasks. Out of 10, Makoto Hyuga.
At that point in the show, it could be anything because we know so little about him.
It's over 9,000.
Yeah, it's like he's not a 10 because he's not got like it's like burning hatred towards him that we know of. It's not a 1 because he's not like he's not the secret 4th relationship.
Yeah, 5th relationship with.
Okay, we just keep adding it. Yeah.
He's a one-man queue at the gum clinic.
He's the person who provided the melon seeds.
Planted them himself.
It's the whole thing of like we don't know it because you then, as I said previously, with Gendo, if we're rating on a scale of is he capable of it? Absolutely, just like everyone, they're all capable of it. So if you set him as a 10 because he's fully capable of it, what's bringing him back? Nothing, because we know so little about him.
So we've just confirmed it's Hyuga, okay? Right, well, end the podcast now, people.
Yeah, he's got no reason to.
Yeah, but no reason
he's
not
got
to.
Nothing. Yeah, it's like so. Yeah, with Misato, there are reasons why it feels like the story would select her to be the killer. Similar with Retsuko. Shinji, not really. It would do too much to his psyche if he had to. Gendo, as we've said, fully capable, probably not. Unless he was really trying to send an obvious message.
Yeah. Big energy.
Yeah, so he's question mark out of 10 because
is he Ouroboros out of 10? He has neither beginning nor end out of 10.
Yeah,
just a snake eating itself.
So I'm going to just leave it as a question mark because
right. Before we go, do you wish to insert an outsider into this question, a Freddie theory, if you will, of who an alternate suspect could have been outside of my choices? Rei Ayanami, Asuka, Shoru Longley.
I was about to say Asuka, but no, I don't think. I was like,
Asuka would have been more likely to have shot the shooter.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking.
She
would be like, I'm running away with Kaji. Goodbye.
Yeah. This is how I ingratiate myself, other than public exposure.
Yeah. So, but I was like, there's nobody who has like an outwards and obvious crush on Asuka who'd be like, I want to get rid of Kaji.
Yeah.
Because
there's Shinji. Shinji's attracted to Asuka.
Not in like an obvious like sense, because
except when he tried to kiss her when she was asleep.
Had that happened yet?
Yes, well before that.
Oh, okay. I'm getting
the third or fourth episode after
later.
she is introduced.
Yeah, okay.
It is
most of the time
he's
focusing on Ray, though.
Scene, though.
Yeah, this is the issue. As I said, he focuses so much on Ray that it kind of feels like he's going to go for Ray. So, not including Shinji, I can't think of anyone else who has like a crush on Asuka, who would then be very much like, I want to get rid of Kaji. God, is she the killer?
She did
it. She wants more time with Asuka, even though she's got a boyfriend who's in hospital
with one leg.
Yeah, with one leg, but she's got like a love interest, but she just wants more time with her best friend.
She just enjoyed that bedtime they had together.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
shared the bed when Asuka ran away. She was like, "This is nice. I'd like this to happen more often."
Get away,
Kaji! I should kill Kaji now.
Yeah.
Gun training, I can do that in an hour. It'd be fine.
Don't need gun training. He's the live target practice.
Yeah, just keep running. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Right, we've got to the end of the list of suspects. We're still sticking to Misato being narratively the most likely, despite
as
Mr.
we
Anno.
both said, she was our first go-to conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Without knowing, we both ended up on that conclusion.
We did. So maybe we come back, do some other fan theories. There are some strange, interesting choices. If you've got this far and you've enjoyed the podcast or the YouTube video, please drop us a like. It helps people find us. I would like to thank my good friend Freddie for joining us.
Well, thank you. You never thank yourself. You're too hard on yourself.
I'm happy with my efforts, but if people want to thank me, likes, views, comments, crazy theories, people want to send us crazy theories, please send us crazy theories. But thank you for joining us. We'll see you again.
Bye bye.